Daniel Foster stood in front of the biggest mirror in his enormous house. He wore an expensive suit. His watch cost more money than most people earned in a year. Behind him, through the tall windows, his swimming pool sparkled in the sunshine. But Daniel wasn't smiling. He touched his face and wondered something he had wondered every single day of his life. Who do I look like? Daniel was 33 years old. He owned a huge technology company. He had 3 cars, 2 houses, and more money than he could ever spend. People called him Mr. Foster. They shook his hand and told him how lucky he was. But Daniel had a secret sadness that lived deep inside his heart, a sadness that money could never fix. He didn't know who his real parents were. His adoptive parents, the ones who raised him, had loved him very much. They gave him everything. Good food, nice clothes, the best schools. But they never, ever talked about where he came from. Whenever young Daniel asked about his birth mother, his adoptive father's face would turn hard like stone. His adoptive mother would leave the room with tears in her eyes. The past is the past, his adoptive father would say. We're your family now. So Daniel stopped asking, but he never stopped wondering. 3 months ago, Daniel's adoptive father died. His adoptive mother had died years before. Now, Daniel was truly alone in the world. He stood in his father's old office, surrounded by dusty books and old furniture, going through boxes of papers. That's when he found it. A small metal box hidden at the back of a drawer. It had a lock on it. Daniel's heart began to beat faster. His hands shook as he searched for the key. He found it taped under the drawer, a tiny silver key that felt heavy with secrets. Click! The box opened. Inside was a brown envelope. It looked very old. The paper was yellow and soft, like it might fall apart if Daniel wasn't careful. Someone had written on it in black ink, "For Daniel, open only after I am gone." Daniel sat down in his father's big leather chair. For a long moment, he just stared at the envelope. Part of him wanted to open it right away. Part of him was afraid of what he might find. He took a deep breath and opened it. Inside were 3 things. First, there were official papers with fancy stamps and signatures. Daniel read them slowly. His eyes grew wider with each word. They were adoption papers, but not the kind his parents had shown him before. These papers told a different story. The papers said his birth mother's name was Amara Foster. They said she hadn't wanted to give him away. The papers used big words like economic hardship, enforced relinquishment, and extreme poverty. Daniel understood what those words meant. His mother had been so poor, so desperate, that she had no choice. The second thing in the envelope was a photograph. Daniel held it up to the light. The photo was old and faded, but he could see a young woman's face clearly. She had dark hair pulled back from her face. Her eyes were sad but beautiful. She looked tired, like someone who had cried for many days. But it was her eyes that made Daniel's breath catch in his throat. They were his eyes, the exact same shape, the exact same way of looking at the world. "Mom," Daniel whispered to the photograph. The third thing was a letter. The handwriting was messy and shaky. Some words had water stains on them, maybe tears. Daniel thought. He began to read. "My dearest baby boy, they are making me give you away today. My heart is breaking into 1,000,000 pieces. Your father died 3 months ago. I have no money for food. I have no home. The people at the adoption agency say you will die if you stay with me. They say a rich family will give you everything I cannot. I want you to know something. I love you more than all the stars in the sky. I love you more than my own life. If I had any other choice, any way to keep you, I would fight the whole world. You have your father's smile. You have my eyes. You're the most beautiful thing I have ever seen. I hope one day you will understand. I hope one day you will forgive me. I hope you will have a wonderful life, full of happiness and love. I will never stop thinking about you. I will never stop loving you. Your mother, Amara." Daniel read the letter 3 times, then 4 times, then 5. Tears ran down his face and dripped onto his expensive suit. He didn't wipe them away. All his life, he had imagined his birth mother as someone who didn't want him, someone who threw him away like garbage, someone who didn't care. But now he knew the truth. She had loved him. She had wanted to keep him. She had been forced to let him go. Daniel stood up fast, making the chair roll backward. He grabbed the photograph and held it tight against his chest. "I'm going to find you," he said out loud to the empty room. "I don't care how long it takes. I don't care where you are. I'm going to find you, Mom." For the first time in 3 months, maybe for the first time in his whole life, Daniel felt like he had a purpose. All his money, all his power, all his connections. He would use everything to find his mother. He pulled out his phone and made a call. Mr. Foster, his assistant, answered immediately. "I need you to hire the best private investigators in the country," Daniel said. His voice was strong and clear. "I need people who can find someone who doesn't want to be found. People who can search through old records and track down leads. I don't care what it costs." "Of course, sir. May I ask who you're looking for?" Daniel looked at the photograph one more time, at those eyes that matched his own, at the face of the woman who had loved him enough to let him go. "My mother," he said. "I'm looking for my mother." 6 long months passed. Daniel hired 5 different investigation companies. He paid them thousands and thousands of dollars. They searched through old city records. They looked at hospital files. They talked to people who lived in the neighborhood where Amara used to live, but they found nothing. It was like Amara had vanished into thin air. Mr. Foster, the lead investigator, said during their weekly meeting, "I'm sorry, but the trail has gone cold. The last record we have of Amara Foster is from 33 years ago, right after the adoption. After that, nothing. No apartment leases. No job applications. No medical records. She might have changed her name. She might have left the city. She might have—" "Don't say it," Daniel interrupted. His voice was sharp. "Don't even think it." The investigator closed his folder. "We'll keep looking, sir." But Daniel could see the truth in the man's eyes. They were running out of places to search, running out of hope. Every night, Daniel sat in his big empty house and looked at his mother's photograph. He talked to it like she could hear him. "Where are you?" he would whisper. "I'm trying so hard to find you. Please still be out there somewhere." The photograph never answered. But Daniel kept looking at those eyes, his eyes, and refused to give up. Then came the autumn day that changed everything. It was a Tuesday afternoon in October. The air was cool and crisp. Orange and red leaves blew across the streets. Daniel was driving through the older part of the city in his bright orange sports car. He wasn't really going anywhere. He just drove sometimes when he felt sad and restless. The car made a loud, powerful sound as it moved through the streets. People on the sidewalks turned to look at it. Some pointed. Some took pictures. The car cost more money than most people would see in their entire lives. Daniel stopped at a red light. He glanced out the window at the people walking by. A mother holding her little girl's hand. An old man walking a small dog. A teenager on a skateboard. And then he saw her. On the corner of the street, sitting on a piece of cardboard, was an old woman. Her clothes were dirty and torn. Her hair was gray and messy. Her face had deep wrinkles. In front of her was a small cup with a few coins in it. She was a beggar, one of the many homeless people Daniel drove past every day without really seeing them. But today, something made Daniel look at her face. Really look, and when he did, his heart stopped. Her eyes, even from across the street, even though she was so much older, even though life had been hard on her face, those eyes were exactly like the ones in the photograph. Exactly like the ones Daniel saw in the mirror every morning. The car behind him honked. The light had turned green. Daniel didn't move. The car honked again, longer and angrier this time. Without thinking, Daniel pulled his car to the side of the road. He parked it half on the sidewalk. He didn't turn off the engine. He didn't care about the angry drivers going around him. He jumped out of the car and started running. His expensive shoes slapped against the concrete. His heart pounded in his chest like a drum. People stared at him. A man in a fancy suit running down the street, like his life depended on it. The old woman on the corner looked up as Daniel got closer. She looked confused, maybe scared. Rich people in sports cars didn't usually run toward beggars. Daniel stopped right in front of her. He was breathing hard. For a moment, He couldn't speak. He just stared at her face, comparing it to the photograph he had memorized. The same eyes, the same shape of the nose, the same way her mouth curved, even though it was now surrounded by wrinkles. "Ma'am," Daniel finally said. His voice shook. "What's your name?" The old woman looked at him suspiciously. "Why do you want to know?" "Please," Daniel said. "It's important." "What's your name?" The woman's eyes narrowed. "I don't want trouble, mister. If you're not going to give me anything, please just leave me alone." Daniel reached into his jacket pocket with shaking hands. He pulled out the photograph, the one he carried with him everywhere now. He held it out to her. "Is this you?" he asked. "Please, look at it. Is this you when you were young?" The old woman looked at the photograph. Her whole body went stiff. Her eyes grew huge. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. She reached for the photograph with a trembling hand. She held it close to her face. A tear rolled down her wrinkled cheek. "Where did you get this?" she whispered. "How do you have this?" "It was in my adoption papers," Daniel said. His own eyes were filling with tears now. Papers that said my birth mother's name was Amara Foster. Papers that said she loved me but had to give me away. The old woman looked up at Daniel, really looked at him for the first time. She studied his face, his eyes, the shape of his chin, the way he stood. "No," she breathed. "It can't be. You can't be." "I'm Daniel," he said. "I'm your son." For a long moment, neither of them moved. Cars drove past. People walked by. Leaves blew down the street. But Daniel and Amara stood frozen, staring at each other. Then Amara started to cry. Not quiet tears, huge, gulping sobs that shook her whole body. "My baby," she cried. "My baby boy. I thought I would never see you again. I thought you had forgotten me. I thought—" Daniel dropped to his knees on the sidewalk next to her. He didn't care that his expensive suit was getting dirty. He didn't care that people were watching. He grabbed both of Amara's hands in his. "I just found out about you 6 months ago," he said quickly. "My adoptive father kept it secret. But I found your letter. I read every word. I know you didn't want to give me away. I know you loved me. I've been searching for you every single day." Amara touched Daniel's face with her rough, worn hands. "You have your father's smile," she whispered. "And my eyes. I see my eyes in your face." "I'm rich now," Daniel said. "I own a big company. I have houses and cars and money. But none of it mattered because I didn't have you. I've been so lonely, Mom. So lonely." That word, Mom, made Amara cry even harder. "I'm sorry," she sobbed. "I'm so sorry I couldn't keep you. I'm sorry I didn't have any money. I'm sorry you grew up without me. I thought about you every single day, every single hour. I never stopped loving you. Never." Daniel pulled his mother into a hug. She felt so small and thin in his arms. So different from a young woman in the photograph. But she was his mother, his real mother. After 33 years of wondering, of searching, of feeling incomplete, he had found her. "You don't have to sit on this street corner anymore," Daniel said into her hair. "You don't have to be cold or hungry ever again. I'm going to take care of you now. I'm going to give you everything. Will you come home with me? Please." Amara pulled back and looked at Daniel's face. She was still crying, but now she was also smiling. A big, beautiful smile that made her look young again. "Home," she repeated. "You wanted to come home with you?" "Yes," Daniel said. "I want you to meet my family. Well, you are my family, my only family. Please, Mom, let me take you home." Amara looked down at her dirty clothes and her cup of coins. Then she looked at Daniel's face, the face of the tiny baby she had held for only one day before they took him away. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes, I'll come home." Daniel helped his mother stand up from the cold sidewalk. Her legs were shaky. She held onto his arm tightly, like she was afraid he might disappear as she let go. "My car is right there," Daniel said, pointing to the bright orange sports car. "Can you walk?" Amara nodded, but Daniel could see how weak she was. Every step looked painful. When they reached the car, he opened the passenger door gently and helped her sit down. The leather seat was soft and warm. Amara touched it like she couldn't believe it was real. Daniel got in the driver's seat and turned up the heat. He could see his mother shivering. "When did you last eat?" he asked softly. Amara looked down at her hands. "Yesterday morning. A kind woman gave me half a sandwich." Daniel's heart hurt. His mother, his own mother, had been starving on the streets while he ate in expensive restaurants. While he slept in his huge house, she had been cold and alone. "We'll fix that right now," Daniel said. He pulled the car into traffic and drove to the nicest restaurant in the city. When they walked in, the fancy host looked at Amara's dirty clothes and wrinkled his nose. He started to say something rude. Daniel stepped forward. His voice was cold and powerful, the voice of a man who owned companies and could buy and sell this restaurant 10 times over. "This is my mother," he said. "You will treat her with respect. Get us your best private dining room. Now." The host's face went pale. "Yes, sir. Right away, sir. I'm so sorry, sir." They sat in a beautiful room with soft music and flowers on the table. Daniel ordered everything: soup, bread, chicken, vegetables, dessert. When the food came, Amara ate slowly, like she couldn't believe there was so much food just for her. Between bites, she told her story. "After I gave you away," Amara said, her voice quiet and sad, "I couldn't stay in that apartment anymore. Everything reminded me of you and your father. So I moved to another part of the city. I got a job cleaning offices at night. It didn't pay much, but it was something." She took a sip of water. Her hands still shook. "I worked that job for 15 years. I saved every penny. I thought maybe one day I could find you. Maybe one day I could explain. But then I got sick. Very sick. I couldn't work anymore. I had no money for doctors or medicine. I lost my apartment." Tears rolled down her cheeks. "That was 10 years ago. I've been on the streets ever since. Some nights I slept in shelters. Some nights I slept on benches. I thought about you every single day. I wondered if you were happy. I wondered if you hated me for giving you away." Daniel reached across the table and held his mother's hand. "I could never hate you," he said. "Never. You did what you had to do to save my life. You loved me enough to let me go. That's the bravest thing anyone has ever done." After dinner, Daniel took Amara to the hospital. The doctors looked at her and shook their heads with worry. She was very sick, malnutrition, they said, pneumonia, infections. Her body had suffered from years of living on the streets. "She needs to stay here for a few days," the head doctor told Daniel. "We need to give her medicine and good food. We need to make her strong again." "Whatever she needs," Daniel said. "Money is no problem. Give her the best care you have." For 3 days, Amara stayed in the hospital. Daniel visited every single day. He brought her books and flowers. He sat by her bed, and they talked for hours. She told him about his father, a good man who had died in a car accident before Daniel was born. She told him about the day he was born, how tiny and perfect he had been. "You cried so loud," Amara said with a smile. "The loudest baby in the whole hospital. But when I held you, you got quiet. You looked right at me with those big eyes." "My eyes." Daniel told her about his life, too. About school and college. About starting his company. About his adoptive parents, who had been kind but never felt quite like home. "I always felt like something was missing," Daniel said. "Like there was a hole in my heart that nothing could fill. Now I know what it was. It was you, Mom. I was missing you." On the 4th day, the doctor said Amara was strong enough to leave. Daniel took her to his house, the big, beautiful house with the swimming pool and the tall windows. Amara stood in the doorway and stared. "This is where you live," she whispered. "This is where we live," Daniel corrected her. "This is your home now, too." He showed her to a bedroom he had prepared. It had a soft bed with warm blankets, a closet full of new clothes her size, a bathroom with hot water and soap and fluffy towels. Everything she could ever need. Amara sat on the bed and cried. "I don't deserve this," she said. "I don't deserve any of this." Daniel sat next to her. "Yes, you do. You deserve everything. You gave me life. You loved me when you had nothing else to give. Now it's my turn to take care of you." The weeks passed. Amara grew stronger. Her cheeks got pink and healthy. She gained weight. She smiled more. Every evening, Daniel came home from work, and they ate dinner together. Then they sat by the fireplace and talked. Amara told him stories about his father, how they met at a library, how he loved to tell jokes, how he would have been so proud of the man Daniel became. Daniel told her about his business, his dreams, his hopes. He showed her pictures of himself as a baby that his adoptive parents had taken. Amara touched each photo gently, tears in her eyes. "I miss so much," she said sadly one night. "Your first words, your first steps, your first day of school. But you're here now," Daniel said, "and we have the rest of our lives to make new memories. That's what matters." One evening, 3 months after Daniel found her, Amara came to dinner, wearing a beautiful blue dress. Her hair was clean and styled. She looked like a different person, not the broken woman from the street corner, but someone strong and proud. "You look beautiful, Mom," Daniel said. Amara smiled. "I feel beautiful. For the first time in so many years, I feel like a person again, like I matter. And it's all because of you, my wonderful son." They ate dinner together, talking and laughing. Daniel told her a funny story about a meeting at work. Amara told him about the book she was reading. It felt normal. It felt like family. After dinner, they sat by the fireplace like always. The fire crackled and popped. Outside, snow began to fall. "Daniel," Amara said softly, "can I tell you something?" "Of course, Mom. Anything." "When I gave you away, I thought my life was over. I thought I had lost everything that mattered. For 33 years, I lived with that pain. I lived with the guilt. I thought I would die alone on the streets, never knowing if you were okay." She took his hand. "But you found me. My baby boy grew up and came back for me. You saved my life, Daniel. You gave me a reason to keep living. You gave me hope again." Daniel felt tears in his eyes. "You saved my life first, Mom. You gave me a chance to live. Everything I am, everything I have, is because you loved me enough to let me have a better life." "We saved each other," Amara said with a smile. "Yes," Daniel agreed. "We saved each other." They sat together in the warm house, watching the fire burn and the snow fall outside. A mother and son who had been apart for 33 years, but were finally home. Daniel had learned something important. He had thought money and success would make him happy. But real happiness, true happiness, came from love. It came from family. It came from the woman sitting beside him, the mother who had never stopped loving him. "I love you, Mom," Daniel said. "I love you too, my son," Amar replied. "I always have. I always will." And outside, the snow kept falling, covering the world in white. A new beginning. A fresh start. A second chance for a mother and son who finally found their way back to each other. If this story touched your heart, show some love. Hit that like button. Subscribe for more amazing stories. And share this with someone who needs to hear it. Drop a comment below and tell us where you're watching from. Remember, the greatest treasure in life isn't money. It's the people who love us. Stay kind. Stay blessed. And never give up on finding your way home.